Welcome back to the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park here in South Australia. Innovation Race Cars 50-minute Enduro has just commenced. As we can see, the cars just going through the middle sector. This is what has happened in the first couple of minutes of this race. Great start from the pole sitter, Lee Stibbs, away from the line. Danny Studdard had a little bit of a look down towards turn number one, but he decided to slot back in line. Emery was right on the tail of Stibbs into turn number one, but further back they were side by side through the pack. Out wide though, Jeff Emery made an uncharacteristic error and then spun on the way back to the road. And he has fallen right to the tail of the field. He has recovered back up to position number 7 at the moment, but an uncharacteristic error from a former Australian GT champion. Back to live images. This is the way it looks at the moment. Lee Stibbs continues to lead the way by just over a second ahead of Danny Studdard. John Goodacre sits in position number 3. Jeff Emery, as I'm talking about him, has just moved up a further position inside the top 6. So very quick recovery from Jeff Emery. The problem is the next car down the road for him is 10 seconds ahead. So the reigning IRC champion has got his work cut out for him in the next 45 minutes. But if there's one man up to the task, it is Jeff Emery. Of that there is no doubt. Lockie Harburg sits in position number 4 at the moment. He's just falling back off the tail of these guys. John Goodacre up in position number 3 at the moment. And yeah, it's certainly been an entertaining start to this one. In terms of the SD class, Hunter Robb has really made a great start. He's up in position number 5 in the Super Development car. That's the car without traction control and without ABS, as well as Matty Cav joins me in the commentary box once again. An eventful start. John Hollinger has just come in the lane as well. But the big talking point, Jeff Emery spinning off the track at the first couple of corners. He's on the comeback drive.
Yeah, he's got a bit of work to do, doesn't he, down in 6th at the moment. And talking about some of these GT cars too, I do believe Cameron Rees is actually withdrawn in the McLaren. They've got an issue with that car, but he will be actually teaming up with Andy Hall in the Cup car. So they'll be getting out in the 991 Porsche a bit later on. So that might be some of the names you see.
That's the one on the screen, actually, the white one. Car number 130, just ahead, just overtaken Donaldson there for position number 8 outright in this race, and first position in the GT class. So a moving class there, but I'm not sure it's over yet, because he's got a nice run out of the fishbowl and down towards the penultimate corner, but Donaldson not late enough under brakes, slots back in line.
Yeah, Lee Stibbs, for me, it's watching the times there. He's already done a 118.8 and a 118.9 last time. Here we go, might be an overtake manoeuvre here. Can he get it done? Donaldson's been very quick, actually, when it comes to the Porsches. No, they've bought this out. Normally, they're obviously running over in a lot of sports sedans and things like that over in Sydney. But they said, you know what? IRC's looking like a good thing. We actually like the racing, and we're going to come and have a bit of a go here at the Bend and join them in this series. So it's great to have them here, and we do welcome and all of our GT cars that have joined us here for Innovation Race Cars Racing. The cover shop there, just in front, and it'll be a little bit further back. We see the 91 go wide. That's Harburg.
Having a look up the inside, you can see him really working at the wheel. You don't see that in the standard IRC car. Look at him fighting at the wheel as he moves through on his Sprint Challenge rival. Rivals in the Porsche One Mate Series and also rivals in IRC this year as well. But look at this, under brakes with the ABS. Harburg so much deeper, but he's not able to move back on through. Rob holds on around the outside there. But good racing between the two different class cars. For those wondering, well, how can you tell the difference? You might see that the car at the front has a little bit less aero on it, so a smaller rear wing. It looks pretty big from where we're sitting right now, but it's a notably smaller rear wing. It's a smaller front splitter as well. And also it's got blue writing around it, so blue over the windscreen and then blue writing, blue on the rear wing as well, whereas the other cars, the standard cars, are all yellow, so yellow strip across the windscreen says IRC SD IRC GT on the back in yellow as well. Those are the easy ways. They made it nice and easy for us in commentary.
Yeah, just so we can tell you what's going on there. I'm really excited to see what Hunter Robb can do, the young Kiwi driver, because he looks very talented on paper, and when you watch a little bit of his racing, he's done some impressive things. And to come with Harry Jones, obviously, in his back pocket as a driver coach, also doing some of his Porsche stuff that he's doing this year, I think that's going to be someone to watch throughout IRC. And I know that's probably just building up his repertoire of driving techniques and things in these cars. One thing they'll notice is on the opposite side of the car, so that is very different too when you come out into a blend line, when you're taking apexes. But they'll travel to some of the tracks where we're actually going to go, those Porsche cars as well. So you'll be coming here for a bit of experience, just learning the ways, how he needs to work with the car and his engineer at the time, because obviously Harry will be going there with him as well. So I'm looking forward to see what Hunter Robb can do as we get back to the race. Lee Stibbs leading us, but then there's Studdard and Goodacre now behind in the 66 machine. Emery still working in 6th position, but he is getting some purple sector time. So watch for those times to start dropping there as he starts to get into a bit of a rhythm. He'll want to get back up in the 2nd position to try and battle it out with Lee Stibbs, as it is quite a long race here this afternoon. 50 minutes, we've still got 40 remaining.
Absolutely. In the last 5 minutes, he has halved that gap. It was 10 seconds. It's now just a smidge over 5 seconds to Harburg ahead. Of course, Harburg probably did lose a little bit of time in that fight with Hunter Robb, but not too much time to make a huge difference. So, yeah, that really has been substantially cut in a short amount of time. It's good to see that Goodacre is going with Danny Studdard as well, as that's what we're looking at on the screen at the moment. So Goodacre wasn't the strongest person in the sprint race earlier on, but he's really started strongly in this one in the IRC GT, and he's closing in on Danny Studdard. The Porsche fight continues, doesn't it? Here we go, looking up the inside once again. Donaldson, who's certainly looking for the cutback, but wisely Hall kept his car far to the left-hand side to really cut the efficient switchback up the inside, and a bit of a half defensive move as well from Andy Hall into turn number 11. I've called Andy Hall racing these Porsches on a number of occasions. Quite a few of these drivers, Burkhardt, Sluger, they regularly race in the Victorian Production Sports Car Series. So this category is open to sports cars, GT3 cars, older than 5 years old. So they're not modern, current GT cars, but it's a nice place for an older GT car to find a home.
Just looking in the background there is Emily Casaviello is coming through at the moment. She made a slight mistake, didn't she, in that first race, the initial race we had this morning, but looks like she's starting to get a bit of a hang of how to drive these coming out of those Australian production cars. And that was a Toyota 86 or a Subaru BRZ, same sort of car, yeah. They've got a slight bit more horsepower, a little bit more torque, rear-wheel drive as well. And when you come into an SD car like this without those aids of traction control and ABS, that's a big step up, and it's a very different car to get around a track like this.
Prior to this weekend, she'd never driven a car more powerful than an 86, so it's a huge, huge step up. I can't say that any more than that, really. It's gigantically. What are the similarities, really? They have a roof and they're rear-wheel drive. Other than that, it pretty much stops there.
Oh, no, they're a two-door as well.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
They're a sports coupe.
Yeah.
That's probably about the only difference, really.
Correct.
And the fact that she's still got a gear shifter in there. It is a sequential. It's not the full step up, obviously, into the IRC GT cars. They've put her in the SD car as well. And I think that's great to have her in there. And she is adapting very nicely, and she's gone past Leah Thomas and gone past those two Porsches as well. As we get back to our race leader, that's Lee Stibbs leading us at the moment. It looks like he's already got a lap up on the 91 there of Harburg. So Stibbs is moving. Oh, no, that's actually, sorry. I'm going to say that's Hunter Robb. It's just the Hi-Tec oils that threw me off there. I've seen the blue like you described earlier. I said, oh, hang on, that's an SD car. So you've done very well there, Dan. But yeah, Hunter Robb, the Kiwi, young gun, in the Hi-Tec oils, SD IRC car, just getting around there in 4th position at the moment and leading that little battle there of those cars.
Let's talk a bit more about the SD car. We've not seen it before. This is its public debut here on the screens. The broadcast brought to us by TFH Hire, of course. And we've spoke about the differences in terms of the rear wing, but the category was made with the IRC GT cars. It was made to be a gentleman's category, traction control and ABS. And a lot of people knocking on the door going, look, could be a pretty good category as a stepping stone into bigger things. If you take away the traction control, take away the ABS, and make it a little bit harder with the aero, and that's exactly what they've done. And already we've seen people come to the series and drive these SD cars, and I'm hearing there's quite a few more people looking to do it in coming rounds.
And Lee Stibbs mentioned it earlier in his post-race interview that the cars themselves, once you purchase them, are actually reasonably budget-friendly to run.
Yeah.
They don't let them use a lot of tyres throughout the season either. They have to stick to 2 sets of tyres, I think, for the season as well, and things like that. So once you get them out on track, they really start to take care of themselves, and I think it creates some fantastic racing. But let's head down to pit lane, though, with Scott Pye.
Yeah, I'm just down in the lane with John Hollinger. Unfortunately, with his car right behind us, not running. Spoke to one of the crew members. He said that you've had an issue for a couple of days now and you haven't quite been able to find the solution. Can you explain to us what it feels like and some of the things you've maybe looked for?
In the mid-phase of braking, it's just shuddering like hell. And it's just there, and it feels like it's going to tear the car apart, and we can't work it out.
Right. Does it feel like it's coming through the drive line, or is it a braking issue?
Through the arse, not through the steering wheel. Yeah.
Sorry to hear, mate. Unfortunately, this is your race done, but hopefully you guys can actually find the solution and get back out there. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, sounds like the tail's wagging the dog.
It's quite funny. I knew exactly what he meant from his explanation. Not quite how I'd have probably described it, but I knew exactly what he meant.
He's not a man of many words, is he, John Hollinger? But yeah, very descriptive there of what's happening with that car. And that's a bit of a shame there. Like you say, he was very consistent last year, and that's why he was in title contention at the end of the year, despite not winning a race. I think he won one in the end.
One race, yes.
But he was in title contention, and it was just through the consistency of that car being out there and just getting in the top 3 or 4 every race.
Certainly was. And great to see him really stepping in and helping out some youngsters as well in Formula Ford this weekend, running no less than 4 cars, Hollinger Racing. So really, really cool to see that, including his stepson.
Yeah, it's a real commitment, isn't it, from Hollinger Engineering? Obviously, the IRC is running their transaxle in the rear of those as well. Yeah. So, you know, he's got a lot to do with the category, and I know he's got his own cars in sports sedans as well, which is an IRC car basically in the background as we see a car run off over there, and that might be Casavello.
Yes, it is Emily Casavello. So she lost the rear end there as she tried to come back on, so she lost even more ground. But this is a big learning experience. We said that. She's fresh in the car. She'd done 1 day prior to this weekend. She's not driven on this short layout before. There's so many new experiences for her. She's driven here at the Bend once. She did a round of the Scholarship Series here last year, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Scholarship Series. So she does have a little bit of Bend knowledge, but other than that, this is very much a fresh slate for her this weekend. Our race leader is in traffic, moving through on Sluga to put the number 68 Porsche Cup car down a lap. And through the fishbowl, we jump on board with the race leader.
Go down the gears there. The paddle shift obviously for Lee Stibbs, but he's heading into TFH corner. Still quite, that turn 3 is quite sharp, isn't it, Dan? You probably don't get that from the outside of the car as it goes around.
You bang on there. Yeah, it's certainly a great opportunity for a switchback. And then the fast run down here into the turn number 6 hairpin. Flicks it back through the next right-hander and back onto the regular circuit before they flick back to the left around Yokohama corner.
Yeah. Ironically, we're going to get this car to go into turn 9, which is IRC corner. We'll flow the car through there down to the Alan Lube corner this weekend, part of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. We've spoken to Lee Stibbs last year extensively about how he's trying to keep his licence going. I suppose he wants that bronze licence to be able to go do some GT3 racing and things like that. And it's one of the things we spoke about in this category is when you've got a similar car, it can maintain that license so that other teams out there who are doing things like the Bathurst 6 hour and 12 hour or potentially overseas, even bigger races, that you can prove that you can drive these style of cars, and you can go in there and probably join up with one of those teams and do some more experiences around the world when it comes to all forms of racing.
Onto Rob, putting Sluga down a lap, and will be closely followed by Lockie Harburg. But look who has caught them both up. Jeff Emery is right on the tail, the reigning champion. He's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment. He's actually a 10th faster than our race leader in terms of outright fastest lap so far this race. And those two really are in a league of their own. So it's very much damage limitation, I think, here for Jeff Emery. Can he get back up to P2? That's probably where he's looking at. Danny Studdard is 4 seconds off the race lead. Jeff Emery is 13.5, so 9.5 seconds is the margin at the moment. Bit of dust kicked up just ahead of him. Not sure if that was Harburg or Rob, but the margin has very much shrunk at this point in time. Just come back to John Hollinger. Hopefully they'll keep trying to fix that, because there's still a couple of races tomorrow. Still a bit of time tonight. I'm sure they'll keep plugging away, trying to solve what it is. But when you got something like that, it's almost impossible to drive.
There's a lot of parts getting around for these cars. They're very modular. That's how they've been designed by Pace Innovations. So head back to her. Oh, this is Emily. She's now on the back of Hall. Yeah. So she is very fast when she keeps it together there, and she hasn't made too many mistakes, but it's just adjusting the driving style. Although it is a race car, I don't know, the 86 actually carries a little bit of weight, so I don't think the weight's going to be too much of a difference, but a lot wider. And I think you'll see the wheelbase is very different in this car.
Should say a couple of different drivers out there. Of course, Harry Jones did the race earlier on today for the first half of this race. He has handed over the keys to Hunter Robb, who's up in position number 4. Also, Machota is behind the wheel of car number 4. That's been driven by Darren Curry for much of the day. So they're just doing the first stint. And in the pit stop, they will change drivers. And the pit stop window, while I was talking about 2 driver combinations, has just opened. So the pit window is open for those compulsory pit stops and will remain open for just over 10 minutes. So we'll see everybody come into the lane for a compulsory pit stop. Strategy very much at the fore, and Lee Stibbs is elected to come in straight away. Our race leader pits from the race lead.
Yeah, this might not hurt him at the moment. We know it's not like they're going to be changing tyres. They're going to keep that Michelin going. Potentially you might see a tyre pressure change, but I don't know if they will. Just judging by the times, Lee Stibbs was starting to improve there, and his times were just getting a little bit closer to Emery's, so I wonder whether they've gone to a different strategy where they've let the tyre come to them, I suppose, as the laps go down. Maybe they've come in and pit, take a rest now, and they'll just try and run this car to the end. Emery follows them in too, so this is going to be an interesting one. He won't want to see an undercut there from Lee Stibbs, because that is really what the competition he's looking at. Even though he's had that mishap in the opening laps of the race, he wants to race Lee Stibbs. They're the 2 front runners at the moment.
Yeah, he's going to be looking for an undercut. That's what he'll be looking for in this. So we saw that he was catching up to both Hunter Robb and Lockie Harburg, so he's going to try and pit early, come out ahead of them. Like we see in Formula 1, the idea you pit, they won't put on new tyres, but they'll let the tyre pressures down a bit and send them back away again. So just get out of traffic, set some purple sectors by yourself out there on a clean, open racetrack, and hopefully the other 2 were a bit slower in that sequence, and when they emerge out the pits, you are ahead. Easier said than done, though, Matty Cav.
No, it definitely is. Great scenes here, though, at the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at the Bend. You can just see the go-kart track in the background where they get some drifting going on as well. And we know there's a four-wheel drive track here as well to get around. Obviously, we've got the dragway at the Bend in the background. So there's really a bit of a motorsport mecca here in South Australia. It's an hour out of Adelaide.
Well, they call it the Bend Motorsport Park, and they're certainly not lying, are they? Absolutely. And they've even got a four-wheel drive adventure park here as well.
Yeah, I was actually watching some of the advertisements out there in the Welcome Centre. And the Welcome Centre is just amazing when you come here as well. You really, if you've ever been here and you see anything on TV, you can pick it with the exotic cars that are in there, the way it's laid out, having the hotel. So you can stay in your hotel room right now on the second floor and be watching this race from pit lane. That is, we don't see that in too many racetracks. We might get a little bit of that at Bathurst with the hotel down there. But apart from that, where else are you going to see that in Australia?
Oh, Jeff Emery's absolutely nailed the pit stop transit time. 2 minutes, 0.4. Thank you very much. He's absolutely nailed that. Stibbs, because he's in the lead and he had quite a comfortable buffer, could take a little bit more care with that. So his was 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So rather than throw it away unnecessarily by trying to make it as short as possible, they can err on the side of caution a little bit, and that's exactly what they did. But yeah, Jeff Emery absolutely nailing that at 2 minutes exactly, when just a couple of tenths off. So that's even better and gives him even better chance of leapfrogging Hunter Robb and Lockie Harburg. And actually, speaking of Hunter Robb, he has just come into the pit lane himself now. So the man who was in position number 3 at that time that he's come in the lane is going to switch over. We're going to see a driver change here as two-time Carrera Cup Australia Series winner Harry Jones will jump behind the wheel. That was quite an entry.
I'm going to say it's got a rev limiter on it, and we heard it.
Oh, definitely.
That's a good one for the LS. They only like to rev so high when they get around the track. So, yeah, he's sitting in there right now. He's done an impressive job as well, I think, Hunter Robb, in the 69 entry. Remembering that we do have a 50-minute race again tomorrow. So if he is going to get out of the car, we might see him do a bigger stint tomorrow. He can take some water on board. I think he's going to stay in this one.
Yeah, so do I, interestingly.
Maybe Harry Jones is impressed and thought, you know what, you can have a go at this one.
That's very interesting. Scott Pye, you're down there in the lane.
Yeah, I always enjoy chatting to the guys after their pit stop to see what they're doing down here. And I was just intrigued and chatted to some of the crew from Ash Seaward Motorsport about their tyre pressures. And I think up and down the lane, everyone, just a little bit of information for those watching. It's about 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds they're trying to get out of the front, and then about 1 pound out of the rear. They're here for quite a long time, so there's plenty of time to just do a quick bleed and get the cars back out. Obviously, they're running a pretty solid tyre, so with a bleed, they're able to recover, get back out there and push on.
Thanks very much for that, Scott. That's a really good insight into what exactly is happening down there in the lane. Certainly Harry Jones is not going in the car. There he is. He's certainly not got his overalls on. Has no intention of jumping behind the wheel. So although they've elected for 2 drivers this weekend, they don't have to use that second driver. So there we go. Off goes Hunter Robb. He is remaining behind the wheel of the Hi-Tec Oils Motorsport SD car.
And this is the question, how good has Harry been at his pit stop? At 2:02.39, it's not too far.
Here comes Emery, look to the right-hand side. There he goes. Jeff Emery has performed the undercut, and those 2.3 seconds might have just made the difference, you know. I think it would have been pretty much dead equal down to turn 1 if the Emery team didn't, or Ash Seaward Motorsport, I should say, did not gain that time in the pit stop sequence. So that is, we were talking about the pit stops and how vital they are. Well, it just proved it right there.
Yeah, it shows why you've got to have a bit of strategy when it comes into these longer races, especially a 50-minute one here at the bend. To get around the West Circuit, 12 corners to get around. He's gone a little bit wide just over the ripple strip there. It's all right, there's a fair bit of runoff, and it's been something very different for our drivers here. We've seen a lot of overtaking come down to turn number 6 as well, and it gives the opportunity to create a bit of room if someone's on your inside. We haven't seen too many yellow cards handed out so far. That's what's been one of the most impressive things for me of this weekend with the new judicial system that Marcus Ambrose has implemented throughout the AASA and the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series is I don't think we've seen someone with 2 yellows yet. We've seen a couple of yellow cards handed out, but not 2.
We have seen a straight red as well,
yeah,
but in yesterday's racing.
When you're that naughty.
Yeah, correct, you are right. Absolutely. So, yeah, the yellow cards for warnings and the red cards are quite a slap on the wrist. No 5-second penalties, no 10-second penalties. The minimum for a red card is a drive-through penalty. So that's why you build up to them with these yellow cards. So it's been very interesting to see how it plays out. There's a lot of yellow cards and red cards, even thrown out in practice sessions for doing silly things, overtaking under yellow flags and things like that. So already people were accumulating yellow cards yesterday, but today they've been pretty good.
Tomorrow, though, You get to the last race of the day, you've got to yellow up your sleeve, and you know, you're looking at the person in front of you out there in the race. You know, it's a decision you're going to maybe take a risk there and potentially still get that, because we have seen some cards handed out, some red cards handed out in our legend car racing earlier, and it actually didn't affect their race win. What it affected was where they started the next race.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the penalty wasn't given in that race. They just started from rear field in the following race, and we can see that Sluga is in the lane. Yeah, I noticed that as well, that Sven Burkhardt has been in the lane now for 7 minutes with no sign of that Porsche heading back out onto the racetrack. 5th position in the GT class, but I don't think he's going to go much further than that, unfortunately. Danny Studdard has gone pretty long. He and Lockie Harburg, the 2 front runners that have remained out there on the racetrack, as Machota as well, who was a little bit further back. The question is, will Machota hand over to Darren Curry, or will Machota elect to do the rest of the race as well? Emily Casiavello has just come on into the lane in the SD class car, and just on cue here, she is coming into a pit bay now. So we should point out there's no rush. As you can see, they're just gently putting down the tyre pressures. It's 2 minutes from when they enter pit lane to when they exit pit lane. It's from the entry line to the exit line. It's not about the stationary time, and that's quite important. So they've got 2 minutes to play with from the start to the end, and that's why it's so important that they get as close to that 2 minutes as they possibly can. We don't want to throw away free time.
Well, it also simplifies how we judge it and how we, I suppose, go and police these pit stops, right? Because we've got a timing system that has a timing line when they go into pit entry and a line when they go out. So if you choose to, if you don't have anyone behind you, you want to go a little bit slower down pit lane, very hard though for your crew chief, because they would have done this mass based on the first race. They would have, in practice sessions, they would have come in pretty hot, and they would have gone down with the pit lane limiter on, and they would have tried to figure that out. Like a stall in pit lane is not going to help you out there. And I'm just wondering whether Hall is swapped out as well, or whether they're going to stay in the car, because like I say, they are going to be sharing that car now with Cameron Rees, who's had some issues in the McLaren.
That was a real shame, that stall, because that meant that he then had to wait for this machine, the Curry and Machota car, to come down the lane. So we do have a change of drive. Darren Curry is going to jump behind the wheel, a man who drove a couple of rounds, didn't he, last year in a Mark car from memory.
Yes, he was in the Mark car, and look, and that's one of the beauties about running an IRC, is that you can share a car. There is enough track time as well. Like, you think you're getting 20 to 25 minutes constant driving out there, trying to manhandle one of these machines. It is quite physical. Whether it's you just getting ready for some bigger races, whether you've entered something else, or whether it's just enjoying your time out on the racetrack, you still get a fair bit of time to do that. There is 2 qualifying sessions over the weekend, one for driver A, one for driver B. Obviously, if we have a single driver in that, they'll do both qualifying sessions. So, you know, we talk about cost of racing, and it doesn't matter what form of racing you do, there is going to be a cost that, you know, goes along with it. But if you can share that with someone, it obviously helps you out a little bit on the back end of the bank account. As we see Emily Casaviello just go by there in the 2-1-3 entry now in 10th position. I'm just wondering with Danny Studdard whether they're going to wait, because he has been doing some very consistent 118s out there, and whether that's just his driving style is once he gets into a rhythm, just Dan Jellison might have just said, you know what, as his crew chief, just stay out there. I think you're super consistent at the moment. Emery's still got to work through some things. He's a few seconds behind you, and whether they can just try and get that pit stop right on the verge of 2 minutes, that might try and help him out a little bit.
In comes Danny Studdard, just as you were talking about him. So our race leader is in, the man behind Innovation Race Cars. And it's great to see that this category has grown in the off-season and will continue to grow over the coming rounds. Shake of the head. It's not what we want to see from Curry. Is there a problem with this motor vehicle? How long has he been in the lane? I don't think it's quite firing up right, you know, Matty.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, whether he was having an issue, whether there's a sequence they're not quite getting right in that car. Donaldson in now. Great to have them joining us for the Innovation Race Cars.
Yeah, it's been in the lane for over 2 minutes, so look at this. They're now inside the car as well, so this is turning into a little bit of a disaster, unfortunately. This pit stop change, the car is not firing back into life. So we've lost a couple in this pit stop sequence. Of course, we lost Sven Burkhardt as well in the Porsche, and it looks like we might lose our first IRC SD class car, as well as Lockie Harburg is also now come into the pits. So our top 2 are in, and that means that our early race leader takes his place, his rightful place, back at the front of the field. The leader on track, done his compulsory pit stop, and will head the field. I know prior to the pit stop, the margin between he and Jeff Emery was 13 seconds. It's now just over 10 seconds, so he really has been chipping away, Jeff Emery, during that pit stop sequence, and that might mean that he's right on the tail, if not ahead of this man. He might not have just left Harburg and not just leapfrogged Harburg, but he might also have leapfrogged Danny Stoddard as well. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting on when they release Danny Stoddard out. I wonder how he's going to go, because he's going to have to be right on 2 minutes, I think, if he's got a chance here for Stoddard.
It is going to be right on
Oh, we
target.
can see Lee Stibbs coming. Now remember, still 10 seconds. Stoddard might get this done. He's going to have a clean exit here. Oh, he's in the background too, and he's got some GT cars to contend with as well. So Stoddard's got out of there clean. I think he was in a great rhythm for Danny. I think it was a good decision to keep him out there.
He had enough of the margin ahead of the stops and enough pace that he wasn't under any threat, but they also absolutely nailed the pit stop sequence time. 2 minutes, 0.8.
Yeah, very close to what Emery did, wasn't it? We're talking just a few hundredths of a second as well. So, yes, Dan Jellison from New Zealand does a fantastic job with IRC, but also out there with Danny Stoddard and Curry getting out of the car. So whatever that issue is, like, it came in running, they stopped it. You can have a battery failure or something so simple in a car, whether there's a loose wire gone and while the car's running, it's fine. But when you stop it just won't restart. That's got to be gut-wrenching. Hopefully they still might be able to fix that. There's just over 15 minutes remaining in this race. So now the driver's out, you can probably pull some of the covers off and just have a look at some of the simple things, and maybe they can get that car fired up and get Curry out there just to do a few laps at the end of this race.
Here's the real difference between these two cars. As you see Emery move on through ahead of Cassivello, but you can see the rear wing size difference, can't you, as they exit out of the corner. So Emily Cassivello will be that bit faster in a straight line. And it really is a fantastic proving ground, a fantastic racing car for these young up-and-coming drivers.
Also, when you've got people like Emery, Danny Stoddard, Donaldson, you know, they've all been overseas. They've raced Nürburgring. They've raced over in America. They've done, you know, substantial races there. Oh no, that's a big moment there under brakes, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Goodacre trying to put a lap on Sluger, but he wasn't too far away from potentially tagging the back of another vehicle. And here comes Harburg. Oh, big send up the inside there. And a bit of a hip and shoulder on the exit of the corner as well. Thank you for coming, he says. So Sluger squeezed out there for sure. But this is the fight for position number 5 on the road at the moment. And Rob feels he needs to go defensive down into turn number 6 as he looked to me to lose the rear end a little bit through turn number 6. And he's really close in on another of the lap cars. It's Andy Hall in the number 130 machine who's going to balk him just a little bit. It didn't cost him too much time. Oh, go. Andy Hall's gone. Oh, great heads-up driving there from Lockie Harburg. He saw that one from a mile away, kept his nerve, and he decided early, I'm going to go to the left, and that was the correct decision. But that was all because Andy Hall left a little bit of room on the inside. He was in the dirt, in the debris. You could see how dusty it was offline, out of the fishbowl, and around went the Porsche rear-engine car. When the back starts going, it's hard to catch.
I just hope they can get this car started. We can see the lights on, but the fact that it's rolling here, we've had a clean race so far, and by that I mean we haven't had any stoppages, we haven't had to get the pace car out or anything like that, so I'm hoping they can get that car fired up and rolling at the moment. Looks like it's not in too bad a position. I'm sure the team radios are fired up at the moment. And there we go, Porsche will rejoin us and Hall will get back into this race.
That's good news. Here's a replay then of what happened. So he just stepped aside and look at how dusty it is. And brilliant from Harburg to go on through around to the left-hand side. And you've just noted that the name's changed from Andy Hall to Chris Reeves.
Yeah, so they obviously have come in here. And thinking about, they came into that earlier race, he was in the McLaren, which is a much wider car. So he stepped into a very nimble
a lot more aero as well, which might very well have cost him there. But down in the lane.
Yeah, so I'm down here with both of the drivers of car number 4. Unfortunately, they're both standing right here with me. But just first, let's talk about that opening stint. Can you explain how was the race? How is it unfolding?
pretty wild in the turn 1, lap 1. A few cars went off and we started 10th on the outside and just had nowhere to go, so we just had to really use the road on the exit, and then lost a few positions, and then just worked our way forward and got P2 in class, and then that was pretty well it really.
And then you've popped into the lane. You were just saying to me maybe it's overheated while we're sitting there. Can you explain what you were doing there to try and get the thing started up again?
Yeah, so the engine got hot when it sits. It's obviously a hot day today. We did run some blanking. Probably should have taken it out before the race because it was so hot. Obviously with the hot engine, tried to start the car. We got the no oil pressure alarm, so that was it. Won't start, so day done. Did a mega job at the start, Trey did. It's a learning curve for both of us this weekend in the SD format, but it's really good, and he did a ripper job.
Nice work, guys. Well done. Sorry this is the way it's ended, but great start to the race. Unfortunate and bad luck, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a hard one to swallow, isn't it, that one? But yeah, there is a lot of safeties built into most ECUs when you put them out there. And yeah, no oil pressure normally shuts the car down.
I can't believe the weather that we've had so far this weekend. It's the middle of March, and you know, we're a few weeks out of summer now, and it's 29 degrees today, and we're set for 32 degrees tomorrow.
I think you've got forecast some not friendly weather coming to you Monday as well. So
let's not talk about that.
But and it's still cool at night time. So like especially out here, obviously we're inland just a little bit. But yeah, we've I think we were single digits this morning. So quite cool and fresh in the mornings when we arrive at the track, you know, before 8 o'clock. But as the day progresses, there's been some incredible weather really for racing, and yeah, like I know that Scott was mentioning earlier that, you know, he'd lap this up if we get some of the other races going on this time of year as well. So we've come at the opportunistic time here for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series to really put on some fantastic racing and some great weather for the crowds that want to come out here. And it is free entry this weekend if you want to log on and grab a ticket for tomorrow. Yeah. Just come down and watch.
Absolutely, absolutely right. It's a beautiful part of the world as well. For those that have never been to the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park here in South Australia, you say it's about an hour from Adelaide, but it's right on the River Murray, literally a stone's throw away. We could throw a stone into the Murray from where we are here just by the racetrack. It's a phenomenal part of the world, a place I've grown up visiting, and I'm very proud to call myself a South Australian for places just like this. We've got the wineries and we've got this part of the world as well, the Murray Lands. But on the racetrack at the moment, Harburg is closed back in on the tail of Rob. So Emery in that pit stop sequence jumped both Goodacre, Rob and Harburg, so he's been on a charge, but this is a titanic tussle at the moment. But look, John Goodacre in the Gap Solutions car is not too far ahead either. They've got Emily Cassiavello between them, but they're certainly closing in on John Goodacre at the moment. The two of them were half a second in the case of Hunter Robb faster than Goodacre, and Harburg a full second faster than Goodacre.
Yeah, I've been watching the times while you've been just watching this unfold, but Jeff Emery is the first one in the 117s in this race, so that little tyre pressure change potentially might have just got him in there, but he is pushing hard at the moment. Now, Lee Stibbs, he's probably cruising a little bit more, I'd say, in the number 9 car, but we'll wait and see. He might wait for Emery to get to him before he really decides to put the foot down. Chris Pith is down there as his crew chief as well, who's, you know, fairly experienced, I'd say, when it comes to racing. And look, they'll be watching times. And what I like is we saw Dan Gillison before, the data that comes back. Now he's live with Danny Stutter. They got in-car camera. They can see everything that's happening with the car in terms of the steering input, braking, the speeds. Like, it's absolutely incredible, the data feedback they're getting within just, you know, milliseconds back to a screen that they've got in the pits as well to be able to drive and coach some of these drivers as well. So there's a lot of technology involved in these IRC cars when they come out on track, and it's all to try and improve the driver, the car, and just their experience out on track. But you can see there the number 66 just gone by. Hunter Robb, though, in the Hi-Tec Oils, number 69 SD IRC car. It's just getting into a bit of rhythm now, and they are trying to match up some of these times, and you think they're within half a second of these IRC cars now.
Absolutely right, they certainly are. So for those wondering, IRC, what is it? Where did it come from? Innovation Race Cars is what it stands for. An Aussie company owned by Danny Studdard. And they've made several iterations. Originally, it was known as Mark cars, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, but in recent times, it's been renamed to Innovation Race Cars, and we've had the GT released. And these cars, powered by an LS3 6.2-litre V8 engine, which produces 550 brake horsepower and weighs only just over 1 tonne, 1,125 kilos, as the fight for second is on. We said Emery's target in this race after the lap 1 spin was P2. Well, he is right there. However, Danny Studdard is a hard man to pass. We saw these two tangle on a number of occasions last year. They are good mates, but they're not so friendly with each other on the racetrack.
Yes, once the helmet goes on and the visor goes down, it's definitely an individual's race when you're out there on track. And Danny Studdard is well versed in defending. Yes. Probably a nice way of saying it. He will definitely make sure that car is twice as wide as it appears on your screen at the moment. And Emery's going to have a little bit of work to do despite the pace that he's holding. And at the moment, as we go down to just over 6 minutes remaining, Lee Stibbs can just keep cruising around. He's got 9.5 seconds on Emery. So there's no point at chewing up that tyre. Yeah, he can just maintain. They'll be working to a lap time, which will come up on their screen as well, on their steering wheel. So I'm sure Chris Pith is just monitoring those sector times, just working with Lee Stibbs. I like what Lee does. He's very methodical about how he races, especially in a long race like this, like 50 minutes, where they'll just be working together, not do anything that could jeopardise a race win, and, you know, leaving this weekend with a championship lead.
He's a great driver, isn't he, Lee Stibbs? Let's not forget, he's won at the very high level of TA2. He's won TA2 races, so he is a very capable steerer. As are these two. Danny Studdard's raced in Porsches for a number of years, and Jeff Emery is an Australian GT champion, albeit is as an AM in a Pro-Am combination. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be a good driver to take it against the best in the country in GT machinery. But he's very much enjoying life in the Innovation Race Car Series at the moment. The inaugural champion last year. Of course, these cars have raced as part of categories for a good number of years, but last year, for the first time, becoming the main act, the lead act in a category, which is really, really cool to see. And Jeff Emery taking the series win, taking 8 race victories along the way as well. Our most winningest driver.
I think this is going to battle the battle that we're going to see in the final few minutes of this race, between these two as it goes down. The other thing too is when they come to the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, they do have a number of endurance rounds where we have these 50-minute races, and then a number of sprint rounds. So that is going to be divided pretty much, it's 50-50, right?
That's right. Last year we saw it was sprint, enduro, sprint, enduro, sprint, enduro. This year, all the enduro rounds are first up. So you've got 3 enduro rounds to start with, and then it's all sprint racing in the back half of the year. So they've just changed it up slightly this year as the fight has intensified between Rob and Harburg. Harburg's got a magnificent run onto the straight and moves to the inside. Despite being in different classes, Rob is going to want to hold this position, a top 5 finish outright against the GT cars. He lost the position there briefly, but a great switchback back up the inside. It shows how much racecraft this young Kiwi has.
Remember, that is a car with ABS that you can stand on the brakes as hard as possible, taking on a young kid who's got no ABS, which means the tyres will lock up if he stands on the brake pedal too hard, and he's managed to outmaneuver him. He's let him get by. He's managed to sort out the braking, and they're going to swap positions once again. Harburg's going to go a little bit wide, and will we see Hunter Rob just leave him on the outside just enough?
Big twitch of oversteer though, and that's pushed him out wide. That's a real shame. He was doing a fantastic job up to that moment, but just through that right-hander, the back end stepped out on him, and when he jumped on the brakes, the unstable car lost grip, I should say, in the rear, and that's what put him off the racetrack. So you can see he's just trying to fight the car offline, and around she went, unfortunately. He lit it up very quickly, tried to not lose any positions, and to be fair, he was successful in that. So he lost the 1 place to Harburg, but that is all. He remains comfortably ahead of Axel Donaldson in the Mark II Mustang.
I feel like he might have lost a bit of traction actually coming out of turn 7, which may have set him up for that. So that's no traction control, no ABS in the SD cars. That is the difference. And look, young talent. It's warm afternoon. We're 48 minutes into the race, so it's got to be pretty warm in there. I know they have the option to have cool suits in these cars, like any long-distance race car, but that's got to be warm out there at the moment, and we might have just seen one of those little fades because he stayed in the car. Harry Jones choosing not to do the two-driver and jumping for the second stint of this one. With less than 2 minutes remaining, Lee Stibbs leading us now by almost 10 seconds. Danny Studdard in second, and Jeff Emery fighting back from what was not the ideal start, where he was on the front row of the grid, ended up back down the field, back to 10th position, wasn't it?
No, but it was
Yeah,
right at
yeah,
the back,
right at the back,
dead
yeah.
last. So it's been a fantastic recovery, even if he can't get through on Danny Studdard in the closing stages of this race. But I think second he would take. He'd go, yeah, well, I probably wouldn't have done any better than that. So in the West Coast Windows entry, he's going to be giving his absolute all. A minute and a half left on the clock. Time is ticking by, but he's got a nice exit out of turn number 3, through Pitman Truck's turn and down towards turn number 6. He's just lost a little bit of ground there. Maybe lost a little bit of time in the aero wash, not quite sure. But yeah, just Danny Studdard just pulling maybe a car length or two down that back section of the circuit. Emery just showing a nose up the inside, trying to force Danny Studdard into an unforced error. But Danny's wise to that one. He's used to that one. He's seen that one many times before.
Yes, he is awake to it. I'm sure Dan is watching, actually, from pit lane as well. He'll have all the data on going. Don't let him. I don't care if you're going to dinner tonight as friends right now. I just want you to hold him out. Half a minute still remaining, so this might bring us on to the final lap, potentially.
You touched on that topic of friends. There's so many, big fights and a couple of incidents last year. I'm surprised some of them are still friends. It really did get fierce and ferocious late on last year. Friendships were certainly tested, but they seem to have been mended in the off-season, and they've come back all happy, all smiles once again. But again, as the year goes on, I'm sure those friendships will be tested.
Oh no, there's definitely some bragging rights, I think, when it comes to what position you can finish in the championship, despite the friendships there, mate. There's they come out to play when they put that visor down.
Oh, yeah.
Have a look at Danny Studdard. He doesn't have to hold him out for too much longer, as we've just gone past the 50-minute mark of this race. So we'll be concluding shortly. Lee Stibbs leading us now, and he's just racking out the laps at the moment. That is down to 8.6 seconds, and I'm not seeing Studdard and Emery go a lot faster. I think we just find that Lee Stibbs is just winding down into this one. He's kept the rhythm going throughout. It's been a great race from him, but will we see Emery have one dive on Danny Studdard in the final moments of this race, or is he struggling with some tyres there after working very hard? Potentially as well, so they might be hurting just a little bit. As with the white flag out now, and the final lap begins. On board with Lee Stibbs in the number 9, has led us from the start of the race. He was our pole sitter as well on the Hi-Tec Oils, number 9, Innovation Race Cars. He's got some lap traffic as he goes a little bit wide there on turn number 1. He just needs to keep that composure for about 10 more corners. This is the battle, though, for second position now. Will Emery get everything he has left in that car and take a dive at any point?
He certainly had a try down at turn number 1, but he wasn't quite close enough to pull that one off. Lap traffic might play a factor here. He's going up the inside of Sluga through the fast corner, but that does give him a bit of a compromise line. That will certainly have cost him a few tenths of a second, whereas Jeff Emery had all of the track width on the apex, or the out wide running into the apex of the corner, I should say. And look, that margin is pretty much halved there. But I think time is not on his side, unfortunately. With just a couple of corners to go, he is not close enough for a dive bomb in one of these Innovation race cars. So I think he'll have to settle for third. He fought gallantly. He came through the field, stormed through the field, but it's not going to quite be enough. Out in front, though, in the Hi-Tec Oils IRC GT car, it's race victory number 2 for local South Australian Lee Stibbs.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll have the family here. Look, you see his children clapping on as well. It's great to, it's always great to race in front of your family and friends, isn't it? And get a win like that, especially after 50 minutes, where he'll, I'm sure he'll be wanting to go and cool down with a nice cold shower after that race.
Absolutely, as you say, winning in front of friends and family, your home track, nothing better than that. Very sweet. And second place, Danny Studdard did hold on ahead of Jeff Emery. The margin in the end, half a second after 50 minutes of endurance racing. Great race, that one. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm sure that is a sign of things to come throughout the 2026 season. We had a great sprint race earlier on. That was something a little bit different. Out in front, though, Lee Stibbs got a big margin early and cruised to victory from there.
Danny Studdard held out Jeff Emery for second position, but Emery fighting back after that opening lap incident from the rear of field and gets the fastest lap of the race. John Goodacre in the 66 in fourth, then it was Harburg. Hunter Robb coming in the SD car, so winning that category right now, and that's great from the New Zealand kid. Donaldson behind him. Jake Donaldson in the Porsche GT3 991 was actually leading those cars. Emily Casaviello ended up a bit further down in ninth position as well, but I think she's done really well in her opening races here in Innovation Race Cars.
Yeah, second in class ahead of Allen, then beyond that we had Sluga and Rees, the final two finishers. Sadly, a DNF for Machota and Curry, Burchardt, and also John Hollinger, who pitted after just 4 laps in the end there. Here are the highlights from race number 2, the first endurance race for the Australian IRC Racing Series this year. Down to turn 1, it was all pretty tame, it was all pretty calm, but off went Jeff Emery late on in the corner, and when he rejoined, he lost the rear, he looped it around and fell to the very tail of the field, and from there, for the reigning champion, it was a comeback drive.
You know, I'm just glad it wasn't like QR. There wasn't a big jump in the middle
yes,
that time as they went off. And this was where we get on board with one of the young guns here, Rob Hunter. Hunter Robb, who came through from the Kiwi, the young kid. And we thought he was probably going to swap places with Harry Jones midway through the race, but he didn't. The pit stop strategy, well, our leaders went in very early. The moment the pits opened, they had 10 minutes to get it done. Danny Studdard, though, decided to stay out. Thought he had enough to lead over Jeff Emery, which worked out in the end, actually. He got back out there, and I think he was just in the groove.
He was very much in the groove. There was drama though, as we say. Curry did not make it back out once again. Then lap traffic nearly got in amongst the fight for a 4th position, and it very nearly ended badly. They just about got away with that, and the fight continued until this moment where Hunter Robb, unfortunately, an unsettled car couldn't slow it down and lost the rear end around Yokohama turn. But out in front in the sister car, it was Lee Stibbs who took the race victory by just over 7 seconds ahead of Danny Studdard and Jeff Emery.
Yes, what a race to this afternoon here at the Bend Motorsport Park here in South Australia. The weather has been absolutely fantastic today, and I can see a lot of people just hanging in that shade actually after this morning where you were looking for a bit of sun to stay warm. Right now, you want to get in that shade as that sun is beaming down on this fantastic facility. Have a look at all the hotel rooms where you can park yourself alongside all the action. Get yourself a room nice and early, and a lot of the drivers and teams staying here as well. It's just a great place to come and enjoy motorsports here in South Australia, or whether you get a chance to travel down. We invite everybody. Of course, there is free tickets if you want to get onto the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series website. You can still get those for tomorrow. But let's head down to our winners, though, in pit lane.
Starting here with P3, fantastic comeback, mate. I've got to ask Jeff, so Jeff Emery, P3, talk us through that moment you had at the start of the race and then that comeback, because it certainly looks like you've had to work for that one.
Yeah, I did certainly have to work for that. Obviously, I made an error into turn 1, tried to go around the inside, outside. Everyone was going everywhere, and I lost the rears, didn't have enough tire temp in the rear, so obviously I went around, ended up on the grass, and then had to start from scratch. So yeah, it was a long, hard battle for a long 50 minutes, to be fair.
Is it the temperature inside the car, or just the physicality of this short lap and I guess the nature of the circuit here at the Bend?
Look, I reckon it's a combination of both. It's pretty hot out there in the sun. It's all right here in the shade, but you get out there in the sun and inside these things, I've actually burnt my foot. So yeah, so it's really, really hot inside the car.
Well, I tell you what, mate, you've earned it. That was a great comeback. Nice work. Congratulations.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Over to P2 now. We've got Danny Stoddard. There. You got it. Ready? Yeah, no, just make sure I'm ready to go here, mate. Congratulations. You've gone one better this one. P2, fantastic job. How was the race out there?
It was great. I mean, obviously it's a long race, but you sort of get into a rhythm, and I had, as you know, Dan Gillison just saying a lot, knock out lap times and don't burn too much tyres. But Jeff sort of, I think they got into a mingle in the first corner, so we got a bit of a gap, and I was just holding it, and then he was coming fast, so I thought I just got to sort of get into a rhythm and just keep on top of it. So it was great. It was hard work.
Was there anywhere on the track in particular you felt like you maybe need to improve the car to try and I mean, Jeff was very fast, but was there somewhere you felt most under pressure with him behind you at the closing stages of the race?
Oh, look, it was through turn 1 and 2, but then you're sort of hard to pass, so you sort of sacrifice a bit of that and then get a run out of 3, you know, over to the fast. That was where you're going to try and hold him off and obviously just get a break so he can't bomb you under a break. So just tried to manage the best we could.
Yeah, well, you did a fantastic job at the end there because he was coming home strong, but you really didn't actually look under threat. No mistakes. Fantastic job. P2, well done.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, boys.
Lee Stibbs, we're back here again. P1, congratulations. Nice work.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, I appreciate that.
You guys improved the car, or was it just a little bit in yourself in that one? Because the gap, you almost look more comfortable in that race than you did in the early one today.
Yeah, the car, we set the pressures to go a little bit longer. It's the first time I've done an endurance in one of those cars. I noticed that the ABS really cooked the front tyre, so towards the end it was hard to try and get the car into the apex. I had to sort of modulate. You know, 1 the brake and 2 where brake markers were. So, but we set a gap. Chris, obviously Pith is on the cans for me this weekend. He's hypercritical, so just setting lap times, keeping you calm and keeping you just pressing forward. So we got to a lead and then he just said, look, just wind it back, don't do anything silly and go for that, but thoroughly enjoyed it. Big thanks to Hi-Tec Oils. Big thank to Pitman Trucks and a massive thank to Alum Lube. So no, very grateful for everyone who supports the program.
Nailed it, mate. Well done.
Well, we're not mucking around here. Let's get started with the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship, their final race number 4 here. Nico French joins us back in commentary, and already we're off track.
Already, Matt. There was a lot of contact in the last race, lots of talking points, and it looks like we are straight back into it here. No one is waiting around.
Harry Strick, one of the unfortunate ones there we saw on the 63, just doing a little bit of what do you want to say, landscaping out there at the moment. Damon Sterling's getting away, and that's what we don't want to see from an entertainment point of view because he's so strong in the car, and we saw those ridiculously great races here this morning and yesterday afternoon where we had Harry Strick up the front. And we don't want to see Sterling get a chance. Brad Smith is chasing him though, and what a step up he's had this weekend. I mean, so many drivers working so hard in the off-season to really condense the field here in the opening round.
We've seen just about everything in the first 3 races this weekend. I think now the story is going to be the 2 orange cars climbing up from the back, Spinley and Strick. Both these guys have been in contention for podiums this weekend. Both of them have shown unreal pace, and I would expect to see them climbing back up through the field in this race.
Yeah, did you get down there to actually have a talk to Rocco, find out what happened to that car late in the last race?
Both of them were super unfortunate. One was a chain and one was a small electrical gremlin that shut the car down. So both of them are right as rain, ready to go again. Just unfortunately ruined race 3 for the both of them, but it's going to be entertaining for us to see them climb back through the field in this one.
Well, the good news was we had Chris Peters there. He had a great run, didn't he? He got 5th. That's got to be a best finish for him, actually.
Absolutely it is. As you said, did a bit of a Chris Bradbury there coming through the back of the field. But he was happy as Larry.
I said, well, if he gets on the podium, then that's what I'll call him. I'll give him the Bradbury name, but he's got to get on the podium to make that happen. Well, look, they're settling into this one now a little bit more. As you like to say, you've got to work away 12 laps in this race. So that's quite a bit of time. It doesn't seem like it. They're very good cars around here. They're doing sub-120s, most of them, as they go around. So they're going to give themselves potentially about 18 minutes out there in this race. Damon Sterling, though, please. Hopefully, Brad Smith can get himself in a rhythm and try and close that gap down. We know that if Justin Ewan gets on the back of him, and he's had a couple of podiums now, he's been 3rd place, and his best finishes too to get on the podium, the young gun there. And what is he, 18 years old?
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, he looks so much younger when we've had him up on the podium, but he is super excited this weekend. And look, we love seeing new faces join us on the podium and get them out there on the coverage too. And I think that's the big difference between last year and this year. There's familiar names, but we're seeing the names that were further down in the pack have done the off-season work to progress and be right up there at the front.
Absolutely. Well, another one of those right here is Jack Lewis in the car with the Kiwi-looking leaf up the side of his car there. Great-looking car, and he is another one of those guys, a little bit like Justin Ewan, sort of a mid-pack driver last year. And look at this, 4th fighting for a podium. So good to see.
Yeah, Lucas Stasi not coming out either, so that's another car that's retired. That's an unfortunate one this weekend. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And that's the number 11. Oh, Stephen Donnellan We had that issues with that car last time too as
Absolutely.
well.
Look, for his first door-to-door racing ever this weekend, and he's been trying to make some decisive moves, not pull anything halfway up, and has been experiencing the brake pedal to its full capacity. So that's good to see him giving it a crack. It absolutely requires you to give it a crack out here. These guys are not mucking around. It seems like he's had another one of those moments on the brake pedal.
Would you say he's been testing the limits of the machinery?
Absolutely.
Would that be a nice way of putting it? He's definitely, yes, just giving the engineers there at the Australian Drivers' Championship and the mechanics something to think about. Hamish Layton too, back up into 5th position in our Masters, so he should be leading that one. And he had a great year last year as well, so it's great to see him back out there. As we see a move down here on Justin Ewan though, Lewis will go through in the number 14. Ewan, I'm sure there's some people on the pit wall there who are going to be saying, get back on that podium.
I think we're about to see a bit of action here because just quietly, Harry Strick now 6th with the fastest lap of the race. He has been slowly climbing up the field, and I think Leighton, Ewan and Lewis are all about to be looking in their mirrors an awful lot.
Yeah, Rocco Spinley up there into 8th as well, so they are moving through the pack at a rate of knots. We know that they've had the pace in qualifying. Strick was our fastest, and it was almost like it was several tenths of a second. So we know he's got the pace, but that's in an open track where you've got room, when you've got to work your way through other cars. My concern is Damon Sterling is almost out to 3 seconds already. It's almost, he's doing about a half a second a lap is where he's getting, continuing to break out with his lead. Now, he's not backing off. He did say post-race last time that he might have just hurt the tyres a little bit pushing hard. So we don't get a big tyre bank either, do we, with the Australian Drivers' Championship?
Absolutely not. So it's definitely something worth talking about. This category is designed to be as cost-effective as possible. And one of the big ways we do that is 3 sets of tyres for the entire season. So the set of tyres that these guys are on right now still have to do an entire another round for round 2 before they go in the bin. So these guys will be managing tyres, especially in this race. Look at this, Spindley coming through, making up the places. So good to see. And then, so the tyre life will be starting to feel it now. They will not feel as good as they did in race 1. And they're going to need to be managing that, because this is where they either destroy them for race 2 or keep them alive, for round 2, sorry, or keep them alive. So it's good to see them sort of backing off, keeping careful. This is a long race. The extra 2 laps makes a big difference. It is a long time to be in one of these cars.
Yeah, and they'll look at the tracks they're going to and how that degrades the tyre as well. I'm sure some of the more experienced drivers that have some data to back that up. So, whether they take a bit of a risk here and they know their driving style will suit another track on a more eroded tyre. But I think, you've got to be pretty excited when you're out there and you're in the mix and you've got so many battles going on out there. It's going to be hard for a driver just to tone it down 3 or 4%.
As you say, once the visor goes down,
it's a different world.
Absolutely.
It's a different mindset, I'd say, from those drivers. And that's Strick now going up, and he'll get into 4th position. So he's got past Justin Ewan, which we know with pace he should have been able to do with relative ease. They've reset, haven't they? Harry Strick, he'll just, I think the hardest part for them will be the mind, like just resetting between races to, pretty much go and erase how the last 2 races have gone for you, because there's been some moments of brilliance and there's been some moments where you just want to close your eyes and forget that you're at the racetrack for the day. And that's Leighton going through on Ewan now. So maybe Ewan having some issues there, because he's dropped back 3 positions quite quickly.
Definitely not showing the pace that he has been all weekend thus far. But it's good. Look, it's giving guys like Jack Lewis a chance up at the front now, which is very good to see. And Strick still with the fastest lap of the race. He is going to be coming down hard on those top 3.
One thing I find with these cars and the hypercars is they tend to wind up almost. The lap times continue to drop. We don't see it sort of phase out through a 10-lap race like we would in some other categories where the tyres are really strong early. It seems to be like they actually like to go the distance.
Absolutely, that's right. I don't want to give away data here, but the tyres never get up to fully operating temperature because the cars are so light. They just don't put enough force through them. So throughout the race, they just keep getting better and better and better as you keep putting more degrees into that surface.
It's also great for us as a spectator and to watch the racing, because they do. They speed up, they get faster, they
look
break
at this.
later.
We have Chris Peters. Oh, no.
That's in the lease vehicle too. That's a borrowed car. Do you know they go anywhere when you borrow a car?
I'm sure Dean's watching at home right now, wondering how much time is he going to have to spend spannering on his car to fix it.
Oh, no, that's looking very mechanical, isn't it? And that looks
no.
like smoke out the exhaust. High booster engine in these cars. You can go to your local motorcycle wreckers and pretty much grab another one and throw them in.
That's part of the whole cost-effective nature of this series. The engine in these cars is straight out of a motorbike. Almost nothing has changed. Makes it really easy to find replacements, fix them. And, you know, if one's running well and you're a good, smooth driver, you'll get 2 years out of a motor easy.
Well, we'll take the positives out of Chris Peters is that with the video footage on board, he's sponsored by Quadlock. It means that he's going to get some great footage. Like, it's not going to be anything jumping around there either. So we'll be able to go back and look at that for the socials.
I don't think he's too worried. I think he's had a pretty great weekend. He's put it P5, which is his goal, top 5. Daddy Scott Pye will be happy.
He met his idol.
Yeah. But look at this, a great example here of the way that the AASA have been sort of switching the regulations around to try and keep the races going. So we've got a yellow there, but the cars are still lapping around the track. We're keeping the action going. We're not going to red flag it. Great to see the drivers still getting that race distance in.
Yeah, they'll monitor that closely. Harry Strick now up into 3rd position, but he's got to run down the main straight. Ewan's just gone out there. Oh, he's just gone out for blend line there. Maybe he thought a car was going to come out there. Probably better be safe than sorry. Leighton still in 5th position. Lewis now into 4th. Harry Strick into 3rd, chasing down Brad Smith. And he's closing that gap down. Brad Smith's going to have to watch out because he's going to have Strick on his back wing very shortly as Smith goes a little bit wide. Oh, no, that's hot. That's hot. And there is some flameage at the back. And is that Sterling
That's
again?
Damon.
And he had that battery issue earlier. Now, I didn't think he was going to put a battery back in. He said we're going to have to jump start that. But has something happened? This could change things up for Brad Smith. Can he try and stay in the lead now and get his first ever win?
This changes everything. Harry Strick back up into P2. I now have no idea who is going to take the overall win this weekend, because if anyone has been consistent enough through the last 3 races and Damon misses the final points in this one, we might just have an overall contention on our hands.
Yeah, no surprise the pace car will now come out, and obviously they'll have to try and attend to that. He didn't get to use his extinguisher early, so that's probably a good thing because they ran out of pit lane with a slightly bigger one. But we'll get our crews out there to that one. With Damon Sterling, that's been an unfortunate weekend for him now. Luckily, last time that happened coming into pit lane, but here's a replay of what happened.
Geez, real quick, something's gone bang there.
Yeah, that might actually be a motor or gearbox. That doesn't look like a same sort of issue we had last time. A lot of smoke.
A lot of smoke. At this point, let's just hope that he can get that fire out. The car is parked on the grass underneath, so if the grass goes up, then he's got a bigger challenge on his hands. It looks like he is in trouble here. Let's hope we can get the safety crews out to the car as soon as possible, because that is definitely still on fire. There we go. They're coming in. Look, this is not what we want to see here. Hopefully they can get the fire under control as soon as possible.
Chris Peters, he's just taken Dean Crook's car back to the pits for him. Just said, mate, I'll bring it back to head office so he can work on it. So we're just, we're just having a look at some of the championship points. So Sterling at this point still might walk away with some lead in this. He's been super dominant. 3 races, 3 wins so far for Damon Sterling. It's unfortunate a mechanical issue is going to take him out of this. Now, he only had 1 of those races last year.
Absolutely, this is very rare.
Very rare, yes. And he's been very animated this weekend. I do like seeing him. It's like he's been revitalised, I think, by the competition. After the dominance that he had, I think it's great to see him, the way he was in some of those post-race interviews and how he's been feeling. But yeah, our crew's down there now. Our pace car will just lead these cars around at the moment, but this is our final race of the day here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series at the Bend in South Australia. Nico, it's giving you a little bit of an itch. You're not here for the first round. You're not in the driver's seat.
It burns. It burns. I want to be out there so bad. But I'll tell you what, I have had an amazing time here in the commentary box watching the action. Being out on the track for the last 3 years, I understand just how exciting it is to be out there. So to be able to see that exciting action from the third point of view has been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed it. Just to see the show that this category puts on, from where it's come from. I mean, it didn't exist 4 years ago. To see where it is now, the trajectory upwards, just the amount of growth that they've seen is just so good. But yeah, I can't wait to get back out there.
Well, what do you think is going to be one of the tracks later on in the season that's probably going to showcase these cars to their optimum performance?
It's a good question. One Raceway is always a great place for these cars. They hold the outright lap record on the new One Raceway circuit. They are really fast around there. Any track that has those sort of mid-speed corners where they can lean on the aero without the long straights like we have here where they sort of top out. So yeah, Run Raceway is definitely awesome. Sydney Motorsport Park, amazing in these cars. You're just hanging off the edge of it for the whole lap.
And is there an open wheeler that doesn't look good under lights? I mean, really. I mean, they're incredible. But yeah, Sydney last year for me was very impressive with these cars. I enjoyed watching them in Sydney, especially because the straight goes downhill a bit, so you get a little bit of an advantage there. And I think, you know, it's who's going to hold on in turn number one. Who trusts the car and the tyre to really turn it in.
Absolutely. Well, you sort of get this effect with tracks like the long straight like we have here at the Bend and at Sydney Motorsport Park. You get the run in the toe behind them for the first half, then you pull out beside them, and then you're in fresh air as well. So it actually pulls your speed back because you're now making drag in clean air, and you end up sitting right next to each other. So if you've got a train of 3 or 4 cars, all of a sudden you're going around turn 1 at Sydney Motorsport Park, 3 wide, completely flat. And it is the most insane experience. Everyone needs to drive one of these cars just to have their minds blown for a moment because they are amazing.
Tell us about the wall here at the Bend, because today has been oddly not as windy as what we've experienced here at the Bend. Like every time you come to the Bend, there's a massive wind, right? Today has been oddly mild, is probably the nice way to put it. It hasn't not been windy, but it has been mild for the Bend. What's it like? I see everyone's hugging the wall to try and break that. When you actually come out of that wall, what is the feeling inside the car?
You feel the revs drop.
Yeah.
You feel it. The car is actively slowing down as soon as you get that sort of crosswind hit the car and you're back in fully open air again. So that's definitely why they're hugging that wall so close. And some of the guys, they get stupidly close, millimeters away from that wall, which is cool to see, but man, if something was to go wrong, far out. So that wall makes a huge difference. As soon as you pull out of there, you slow down. If you're behind another car and you pull out of them, you slow down. So you're all doing exactly the same pace at the braking zone, turning into one, which always makes for epic racing.
Yeah, and the West Circuit this time, when we visited 18 months ago as part of this series, we actually went the 4.95 kilometre circuit, but I think that turn 6 is great. I really enjoy that for the racing, and I think some of the drivers do too. It's a hard braking. You've got to choose. Well, you know, in qualifying, you're going to go out wide. You're going to take the optimal racing line. But in racing, you have to cover off every time, because if you do not stay to the inside line, someone's going to dive bomb you. So, you know, it changes how between qualifying and racing, what you've got to do.
Absolutely. Look, I was in two minds when I heard that we were doing the West Circuit this weekend, mainly because that when you're doing the International, that turns 8, 9, 10 complex, that triple right-hander, for us is completely flat. And that is an experience. That is almost an out-of-body experience to do that. So without that from a driving perspective, I didn't think it was going to be as entertaining. But what it's done is create all these extra opportunities for overtaking, which means the battling that we've been having here is absolutely better than if we were running the International. And as a result, the drivers are just smiling ear to ear.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to pick a category here this weekend, and you've had an opportunity to look at a lot of them. It's hard to find a favourite. You know, obviously, you get the TA2 muscle cars. They've got the noise. They've got, you look at the names there, which obviously are more household names, because they've raced in Super 2 or Super Utes or somewhere like that. But this weekend, I don't think there's a category that hasn't offered, great overtaking, great racing and entertainment for everybody.
Every time I look up at that screen, whether it's Legends, whether it's Formula Fords, whether it's TA2s, there are cars millimeters away from each other. It's almost at all times. It's action everywhere you look, no matter when you look. It's great to see.
Yes, all right. Well, it looks like our pace car has the lights off, so that means we've got ourselves a safe racetrack to get underway now. The leader is going to get the opportunity to start in our new start zone, where he's got about 100 metres to choose when he's going to go. Problem with Brad Smith is he's got Harry Strick behind him. So blank that out of your mind at this point. I think this is like just take it into your own hands, run the gauntlet. This could be your first ever win in the Australian Drivers' Championship. 2 laps remain in this race. Can Strick do it? Can Smith hold him out? And have a look at the conga line we've got going on here. It's like a snake going down the main straight at the moment. And Strick will pull out now. And if he can go around the outside, we know he's going to be on the inside of turn 2.
Doesn't look like he's made it, mate, but that conga line, always hilarious to see. That's all the guys trying to break the toe from the cars behind to make sure they're not getting up beside them into turn 1. It looks like we've gotten through cleanly. No big overtakes. 1 off there in turn 1. but we're through. But here we go. This is going to be the action here. Harry Strick is going to be absolutely all over the back of Brad Smith here.
Yeah, it's where he's going to take a risk. The laps are going to tick down very quickly. He's going to cover off here, Smith, and he hasn't gone in too shallow. Oh, no, a lot more smoke coming out of the 25. That's Gardner. So I'm hoping that's not an engine failure either, and I'm not sure where that is, but it'll be early on. Oh, Brad Smith, he's got to get worry here. Strick will put it on the inside, but Smith will have a right-hander now. The double right-hander as they come onto the main straight, so he might survive the first lap.
Can see him looking in his mirror there, wondering if he's going to see him. He's come around the outside. Can he stick it around the outside into the dirt? Does he hold on to it? He does. Whoa, we're very close there. But look, Jack Lewis and Hamish Layton. Now we have a completely different top three. No, Harry Strick has managed to hold it around the outside of Hamish. But Jack Lewis, he is going to be freaking out in that little helmet, hoping that he can hold on to this position for one final lap.
Yes, and here we come into it. We're not going to see. I felt like I was on a Nokia before doing the snake game, but not going to do that this time. And Lewis now into the lead. Takes a final lap, and the number 14, but he gets the wheels out on the dirt. Can he hold on to this one? Smith, he almost thought he had his first ever win. This could be the first time for either of these drivers on the top step of the podium.
Absolutely, first time that Jack Lewis has ever led a race. So we are seeing so much action here for the very first time. Looks like Brad Smith is all over the back of him, and Harry Strick is also looking for an opportunity here. I think we're going to have a pretty epic last lap of this race.
That was laid on the brakes of Smith. Oh, did anyone touch him? Was he just hit the ripple strip on the inside?
Absolutely, he got tagged there. Looks like we got through clear. No one's hit him. That's lovely. Okay, so Brad Smith back in first position. Oh no, another car off. What is happening?
Is that Strick?
That is Strick.
Yeah. So, wait for the cards to come out, I suppose. We're coming to the final couple of corners here. Oh, there'll be lots to unfold, I'm sure, after the race here. And Strick will just try and regain whatever he can to get some points, especially knowing Damon Sterling has retired from this race. So he just needs to keep those points coming. Brad Smith, though, for the first time, he comes around and takes a checkered flag, and he'll be in the top step of the podium, and he gets it done. Hamish Layton in second position as well, and Justin Ewan, he is in third again.
Justin Ewan, how is he doing it? He had dropped down to, I think, 5th or 6th at one point. Didn't look like he had the pace to make it back, but here he is. Mr. Consistency manages to keep pulling off those podium positions. But again, this man, Brad Smith, first ever race win. So exciting.
And here you go. Here's your results for the Australian Drivers' Championship race number 4. Brad Smith would be your winner there, with Hamish Layton coming in second and winning the Masters side of things as well. Back to Justin Ewan in third for the third time this weekend. Then Rocco Spiley. How do we miss that coming through the pack?
So much going on.
So many things. Harry Strick back to 5th in the end. Then it's Catlin. Donnellan Lewis ends up back in 8th position after getting spun out. Then it's Caradias and Davey to round out your top 10 in the Australian Drivers' Championship for their race number 4 results. Yeah, I didn't even see Rocco Spinley come through there. With so much going on, and the restart there. Josh Gardner ends up in 11th. Damon Sterling retired early, though. The big flames out the back. Chris Peters in the rental vehicle, well, that didn't make it all the way home either. So that's unfortunate for him after finishing 5th in the last race as well. But, I mean, it's just the entertainment is second to none this weekend here at the Bend, especially when it comes to the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series and the Australian Drivers' Championship. They have really turned it up for us, and there's some great stories to come out of this. We'll check out the race highlights with Nico French. Mate, so much to unfold, and Harry Strick had a big job to do in this one.
Absolutely, and I mean, Brad Smith all over it, Justin Ewan there, and Jack Lewis, contact at the start, but manages to keep it going with Chris Peters there, who would slowly drop back. But Harry Strick, so many moments in this race.
It was a bit like a yo-yo, wasn't it? He went up the field, he went down the field, he went back up the field.
Absolutely, you could never have guessed.
We didn't know what was going to happen there. Hamish Layton, he did a fantastic job. I think he is super reliable. This is one of the first of our retirees, Chris Peters there, which looks like, I'm going to say engine failure, potentially. A lot of smoke coming out the exhaust. Maybe it's minor, maybe it's not, but they'll get that back to the garage. Now, this was Damon Sterling, our championship leader and last year's winner. He's pulled over, and that was a massive fire. Like, have we had a rot out of that motor?
I hope not, mate, but it looks like that might be the case. It's not good. On the restart, however, it was all about breaking the toe. As you said, the conga line coming down the straight, and then another retirant here from 25. looks like he has also done a motor. Josh Gardner switched it off just in time there, but then it was back. Harry Strick and Brad going for the race win. Harry comes off, and all of a sudden, Jack Lewis is in the mix. Coming around the final corner, it was just changing positions for that last lap like you would not believe. And here's the moment Jack Lewis gets tagged by Harry Strick, with Hamish and Ewan falling up behind.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what our red card, yellow card system brings up a little bit later. I'm sure there'll be some discussions there up in race control after this final race. But look, Brad Smith, I think he has proven himself this weekend, how much he's improved in the off-season, has been on a podium 4 out of 4 races now and improved every time. So he's a 3rd place in race number 1, a couple of seconds and a first. Let's head down, though, to Victory Lane with Mel Price.
P3 again, Justin Ewan, what a day for you.
Yeah, that was somehow even more unexpected than the last P3 I got, the first one I got, sorry. Yeah, that was a roller coaster of a race. The floor was damaged for once at the start of the race before we even, so we had to take the rear tray off. Then the car started to have a bit of I couldn't really get the car as fast as I wanted to for a few reasons. And then towards the end, before the safety car came out, oh no, the engine's sounding weird and sounding like a quad bike. So then under safety car, I was like, okay, great. It's going to end on the safety car. No, we got 1 lap racing here because race control wants to make everything exciting, but it worked out in the end, so I have no idea how I ended up P3, but by the grace of God, I managed to survive that last lap.
Well, good day. We share your excitement, and we will move on to our P2 and also Masters winner for the day, Hamish Leighton. Where did you come from at the end there?
Yeah, that was a wild, hectic race, all right. We were threatening to do it the race before. We got up to second and had a mechanical, and that one there we managed to get up there and actually hold it, so that was good. But those last few laps when the safety car ended, wow, it was on.
Yeah, if you were a betting person, nobody would have won that one, would they?
No, exactly. You wouldn't know where to put a dollar. But, you know, yeah, really well done to Brad for the win. That was fantastic to see, and really sorry to see Damien have the fire with his car. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
And we'll see you again tomorrow. And winner with the cutest pit crew as well, Brad Smith. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was, yeah, I mean, just as wild as the other races today. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less, I guess. But, yeah, can't believe this is actually happening. So, just proves that never give up and things fall into place. You don't always have to be the fastest guy. You just need to, yeah, just keep putting yourself in the right places and stuff will happen eventually, I guess. So.
Did Daddy drive well? Congratulations. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Well, a big thanks to all the team here at the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. Mel Price down there giving us, Scotty Pye joining us, Nico French, everyone there is, Matt Tatani, Dan McCarthy. It's been an incredible day of racing here at the Bend, but it's only day number 1. We come back tomorrow from 9:30 from the East Coast times there, and we'll be back with all your YouTube action. Of course, if you do want to come down to the track, tickets are still free if you want to get on the website. Make sure you join us for tomorrow's racing. We thank you for today.